Ford and O'Brien, ESPN Evansville, 105.3 online, ESPNEvansville.com. Bosse Field turns 100 years old a week from tomorrow. Steve Ford, who used to write for the Courier Press, you still write for the Courier Press every once in a while, don't you? Do you still have a column?
Outdoors 2 times a month or every other week, basically. It used to be every week, and then they cut that back.
And you were there for how long?
Well, I've written outdoors off and on at different papers in Evansville for 36 years now, so it's been a while.
And you have put together.
Old, man.
Yeah.
We know Steve from we've shared a couple of press boxes over the course of our high school football play calling days. I guess you don't do that much anymore, though, do you? The high school football stuff, or do you just show up because you can?
A little of that, and a little of just being a fan. I love football. I mean, if I had to pick a favorite sport, that would be it. Football would be it. It's still my first love.
Yeah, I think that rings true for the both of us too.
Yeah, it does. I know Steve was quarterback at Central back when he wore leather helmets. And if you haven't figured out yet, I have to give Steve a hard time. We go way back. We do, like you said, in press boxes. I've been doing high school ball for many years, but they rumor was you were a pretty good quarterback over at Central.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. We didn't have much success while I was there. I do have one good quarterbacking story at Bosse Field, though. I was the emergency quarterback as a sophomore on the reserve team, and we were playing Mater Dei, and it was a scoreless tie with about a minute to go, and I'm out there, and I hadn't thrown a pass, let alone completed one, and the first pass I threw and completed was a 40-yard touchdown pass to a retired Evansville police officer named Alan Goodwin, and we beat Mater Dei 6-0 that day.
Should be noted, Steve Ford and Jimmy Ford not related.
No, brothers from another mother.
That we're aware of.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out, Ryan. So.
Steve has written a book about the 100-year anniversary of Bosse Field, and you were nice enough to give us a copy to look over the weekend, and I had a chance to thumb through a good portion of it and read through especially the early part of how this field came to be. But before we get all into the history of it, because I know you even make note there early on that there's so many stories about this field and the history. I mean, 100 years, so much. You could have written 10 of these books and filled every one of them with the amount of stories that you had and had heard over the course of the research that you did for this thing.
Well, it's not just that. It's the research that you don't have time to do, or the stuff that you don't even know is out there and available, that after you get this done and it goes, you pass your deadline and it's at the printer and you have somebody call you and says, did you see this, or did you get this, or did you go to their house? Did you see what they had? And that's the biggest frustration about it. We had a meeting today with something that WNIN Channel 9 is going to do an hour-long documentary on Bosse Field, and I was at an early production meeting with that, and that's what people were talking about, some of the things they had, and I said, I didn't have that, and so that's a frustration with it. You wish you had everything, but you just can't get it. It's just impossible.
The book is called Bosse Field, the third oldest ballpark in the U.S. turns 100, and just take us through the process of the decision to write the book, and then just, I got to imagine, like we've said here, such a great amount of history in this. How do you even start? Where do you begin trying to put something like this together?
Well, you start with an outline, and, I guess you start with an idea, and the idea was, 100 years of history, there has to be a book there. And when I was nearing what I knew was going to be my last year at the Courier, I was thinking that I needed something to do in my first year of retirement. I didn't want to sit around and get any fatter than I already was. So I wanted something to do. And I saw this, and it was timely, and it just made sense. I had a 50-year history there myself. I first went to Bosse Field, for Cub football in 1965 for Central High School. So I had a lot of things that I knew about the place from personal experience. And then when you go and you start, we've already alluded to, the research and things, there's so much out there that you just hope to be able to get it in and put it in some logical order and go from there.
Are you surprised that this place is still standing?
No, I think, people have always loved it. And that's one of the things that, everybody says it's a labor of love, but it's not just love, it's respect, and that was one of the things I was thinking of on the way here. It's not just, the affection people feel for it. It's the respect for, what you did there yourself or had the opportunity to do, and the respect for all the people who've come through there, the greats, 23 Don Manley Way. We just put together a story that'll be in there. He hit 471 there in his high school career, but he started off 0 for 6, and then he started off his sophomore year 0 for 6 as well, and then his senior year he hit, I think it was 789 at Bosse Field, 15 for 19. I think it's 789, maybe it's not. Somebody else can do the math there. If I'm wrong, forgive me.
Well, the thing when I don't remember how many years ago it was. I know the mayor was Russ Lloyd Jr., so it's been a while back. But when they talked about putting the AA stadium downtown here now where everybody goes and dumps their money into that tub they got on the water, but when they looked into doing that and it fell through, if that would have went through, does Bosse Field survive that, you think?
I'm not sure it does, but the reason it didn't go through was Bosse Field. And there's some thinking, and I alluded to it in the book, that the reason Russ Lloyd Jr. lost the next election is because at the end, when he was at the press conference when they were pulling the plug on the downtown stadium idea, he was up there all by himself, and it got him so much negative publicity and ill will in the community that it doomed his political future.
Yeah, and that I think that it was good that it didn't happen. Fortunately, we do have Bosse Field. I mean, anybody that's lived around here, and we talked about that with Dave Johnson as well when he was in. Anybody that's lived around here, even if you were a kid and you moved away and you come back, everybody's got a story about Bosse Field. It's just, you talk about things that are part of communities, and we tear things down nowadays so quickly, and the out with the old, in with the new stuff. It's really awesome to have this in our backyard. I don't think Evansville knows how lucky we are to have something like this.
Well, maybe we're figuring it out. There's a lot of people that really care about the place. Just from my personal experience with what I've done with this book, and I've been out to sign books one time at Bosse Field a week ago, or 6 days ago at a Otters doubleheader, and one of the guys who didn't actually buy a book because he said he didn't have enough money with him, and $39.95, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and other places.
We're going to get to that.
We're going to get to that part.
You have to sneak those shameless plugs in.
I'm not a NASCAR guy, but that was too much to pass up. Actually, the best deal is at the Otters game, so see me there tomorrow night.
Wow, he's full of them, too.
But, one of the guys that came up, and he didn't buy a book, but he said, I want to thank you. I just want to thank you for doing this. And he was very sincere, and whether he buys one or not, it doesn't really matter at this point because of that, just those simple words, makes you feel so good about, a project that you poured a lot into. And if one man's saying that to you, that there's a lot of other people out there that feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. Steve Ford, our guest. It's Ford and O'Brien, ESPN Evansville 1053, online, ESPNEvansville.com. Steve's book, Bosse Field, the third oldest ballpark in the U.S., turns 100, is available now. Back to how we got here, day one of this ballpark, and maybe even a little before that. For people that don't know, Benjamin Bosse, who was the mayor at the time, felt that there was a reason that he felt this stadium needed to be built, and it was because of, I don't know if tragedy is the right word, because there were some injuries but no fatalities. But there was a place called Legend Park before Bosse Field. Where was that exactly?
Well, it was League Stadium.
League Stadium.
Park.
There you go. That's what I meant.
And that's it was right down just a few blocks from Bosse Field. It would be actually southwest of Bosse Field, around where the old stockyards were.
Okay.
And it was an all-wood stadium, and you can find pictures of it. And they had another thing that used to be a very big deal in Evansville called Field Day, where it was all the kids in the Evansville grade schools would go to League Park and later Bosse Field for field day exercises that would involve thousands of children, and they would put 8,000 spectators in the fans for this thing. Jeez. And to do so at League Stadium, they had to build temporary bleachers, and it was a collapse of those temporary bleachers at a field day exercise on May 22nd, 1914, that was the impetus to building Bosse Field, or the drive to get this done. And the very next day in the newspapers of the day, and there were 3 in Evansville then, they, in various degrees, called for a new stadium. And a day or two after that, they had an editorial cartoon by the legendary cartoonist Carl K. Connect, who's people know from the zoo and some other things like that, had a drawing of a potential new stadium, and he said in concrete and steel, and what he drew looks eerily like what actually came to pass out there, the main grandstands of Bosse Field.